My name is Laxmi Chaudhry. I'm a cross-cultural consultant and a trainer. I work with RW3, and then I have worked in Asia Pacific, based in Singapore, but looking after 13 countries, as North as Korea and Japan, as South as Australia and New Zealand, West as India, and all of the ASEAN countries, including China, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, etc. Once I was in India, and I went to Bangalore for my work, and I had to do some training program for a very large organization. I'd set myself enough time to reach because of the traffic situation, which is very, very, I would say, difficult to reach because there is no discipline in the traffic. So I'd given myself 3 hours to reach this destination. So having left home at 6, I actually asked the driver, who was given to me and is supposed to be a good driver, that did he know where we were going? And I showed him the address and he said, absolutely. And he said, yes, madam. And I said to him, how long do you think it's going to take me? And he said, oh, madam, just round the next corner. And I said, really? Okay. And I said, but I can't see any landmark as I was told. So if it's round the corner, it should be there. He said, no, madam, just round the corner. And he suddenly brought me a piece of paper where there was a company's name, Oracle, written. And there was a big building showing Oracle. And he said, that's where we were going. And I said, no, we are not going to Oracle. We are actually going to another company. And he said, but look, this is a picture. It says Oracle, and this is where you said we're going. I said, I didn't say that. Lots of people were passing us, and I actually said to him, let's stop and ask. And he wouldn't. And then eventually I had to throw my weight, which was, I became very authoritarian. I had to tell him to really stop. I actually banged my head against his seat. And I said, stop now, because you need to ask someone. I cannot afford to be late. And he suddenly jerked, stopped. I stopped. I went outside, asked them, and they said, it's another 10 minutes. And if you see these 3 places, you'll be there. So it was really irritating. But then I kind of looked back and thought, what was those cultural values which were coming into play for this driver not to stop and to ask? And why was he always saying yes to me? And I suddenly remembered something which, of course, I teach in my workshops, which is that what I was trying to ask him to do was, if he had to stop to ask a security guy, he was going to lose his face. Face is your self-worth and dignity. And being a driver, he cannot afford to lose that because he's supposed to be a recognized driver. Now, the other value which came into play was the hierarchy, because I was the passenger, I was the client of this taxi company, and I hold a high position. And therefore, he couldn't have said he didn't know. He was just taking a chance. And generally, that's what happens in many, many situations in India. People will take a chance thinking, if I can get away with it, brilliant. If I don't, okay, I need to improve at that point. Communication has 3 aspects of what we can understand. There is the words, the tone, and the body language. I soon realized that the yes wasn't a yes. The yes was perhaps they haven't understood me totally, or it was a maybe, or they haven't yet done the job. When you asked closed questions, like you give them a deadline like, oh, will you send it by this day? The answer which is begged is yes or no. So they can easily say yes to me. I have to practice the open questions, which I tend to do when I'm working and hiring a person when they're sitting at an interview. So the open questions are such words like what, why, where, when, how, explain. Now, this kind of question doesn't beg an answer which is yes or no. It will have to be communicated by the other person by saying, if I've said, what are you going to do next? That person has to tell me what he or she is going to do next. If I say, by when are you planning to give me this result? He or she has to give me kind of a deadline. And if I say, how are you going to do it? Do you need any more resources? The question how will immediately tell me If they haven't understood or they haven't followed exactly how it has to be done, they're going to be saying certain things to me, which will immediately tell me that they really didn't understand the steps. And then I check for understanding. So when we ask these kind of questions, I use the word check for understanding. And unless you check for that, you could be led up the garden path and you may not reach your bottom line at the end of the month.